Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily and I talk a lot about Salesforce. Today we're going to be going over the 5 topics that I would focus on when studying for the Salesforce Sales Rep Certification exam. So before we actually get into these things, I want to give you a little bit of background on the exam. And one thing that was really cool about this exam was that I was able to actually talk to someone from Salesforce about it, which doesn't happen too frequently, but I really do love chatting with them whenever I have the opportunity to talk about their different certifications, what they're thinking about when they are coming up with the certification. So it was really great, a little peek behind why they wanted to release the certification, because this one, when it first came out, I really wasn't sure how it was going to fit into the ecosystem of Salesforce. Like, I could see maybe a sales ops certification, which is kind of what the associate is now, but this one is rather for sales reps. And so they said, according to Salesforce, that they wanted the certification to take the place of where there's no certification yet as far as a gold standard for sales reps to understand the basic backgrounds of selling. There's no standardization on different selling strategies and things like that. This is what this sales rep certification was ideally meant to provide for the Salesforce ecosystem, as well as those who are selling using Salesforce. Now, if you hear my cat, he's like right behind this window, so you might hear him in the audio. Actually, do you guys want to meet him? This is my cat. I don't know if you guys have seen him before. This is Chips. All right, he's getting kicked out. All right, bye Chips. Back to regularly scheduled programming. So let's talk a little bit more about the sales rep exam. This one is going to mirror exams similar to the business analyst exam in a few different ways, in a few different fashions. So when I say it mirrors the business analyst exam, I mean this in a couple different fashions. So it's to choose 1 out of 3 answers as far as the question and answer portion go, as well as it's more vocabulary based rather than Salesforce selling feature based, where as many of the other Salesforce exams that you've probably taken, such as the admin, the app builder, the sales cloud consultant, the service cloud consultant, those exams are going to be heavy about Salesforce and how do you implement Salesforce based upon different use cases, what are the best practices for those. This one definitely is not like that. This one is more vocabulary heavy, and so it's kind of like a in between an associate exam and in between like a full-length certification exam. It does have that 60 questions, but the questions in nature are a lot easier, especially when you're able to understand the vocabulary. If you have spent like 3 months either working closely with a sales ops team or working closely with a sales team, this one should be a really pretty easy pickup for you to be able to pass and to get on your merry way and go, because it has a lot of vocabulary that you're probably already familiar with. At this point, I like to mention I do have a course on this one, so I will link it down below. Now let's talk about who this exam is good for. I think it's good for sales reps who maybe want to transfer into the Salesforce ecosystem. I think it's good for Salesforce admins who want to understand a little bit more about ideal sales processes and how to best implement those and kind of get the background knowledge about sales processes and how you can change it and move it into a better form for Salesforce. I would not recommend this on like your first go through, your first pass through on your first few certifications. Like, I would recommend the associate, the admin, and like app builder to be one of your first 3, 4, 5 certifications. I think that this one would be one of those tertiary certifications that you would get if that's where your career was leading you and or your employer is paying for it, if I'm being honest, or you have like a voucher code or a coupon code. So that's kind of the circumstances I would get this certification. I'm sure that there are other circumstances that getting the certification makes sense for you. But let's go ahead and jump into these top 5 topics that I would specifically target your studying for to get the most coverage on the exam as far as context goes and correct question and answer. So these are in no particular order, but this is just what I noticed on the exam. The first one is going to be stages. So specifically the stages of selling. So this is going to be things like proposal, negotiation, qualification, demo, question and answer, that kind of thing. So there's typically going to be 7, and I believe that these are just like straight out of the box on the opportunity object when you're within Salesforce. Understand generally, not like any intricacies at all, but understand generally what happens in each of these stages. So qualification, you're going to be qualifying them as a good customer. So what are you going to be doing in that stage? What objections might come up in that stage? What issues might arise in that stage? How can you move past them? Another one is going to be the demo. So what things are going to come up during this time in this stage? Proposal and negotiation. These are two separate stages, but what types of things come up that can be an issue? What things generally happen within this stage? What pieces of information should you be gathering in each of these different stages? And how to promptly and efficiently get them from this stage to the next stage. All right, the second topic is going to be Dale Carnegie's 5 stages of selling. So these are going to be 5 C's. They are going to be connect, collaborate, create, confirm, commit. So just generally know what they are. Again, this is a big vocabulary test in my opinion. And so understanding connecting with your customer, collaborating, you work with them to find a solution that also includes the product that you're trying to sell. Create, you're going to be creating a little bit more of that solution that they're looking for. Confirming, you're going to want to chat with the customer and confirm, yes, this is what I want. And then commit, where you're getting that final commitment from them. So again, these ones are pretty similar. What this might look like on the exam is something such as like, hey, which one of the Dale Carnegie's 5 C's of selling is this going to be categorized underneath? And then you'll have those 3 options, and then you have to pick one. So that one is pretty self-explanatory, but I did notice it come up a lot on the exam. All right, the number 3 spot here is gonna go to common challenges or arguments or pushbacks that you might receive from a customer and how to handle those. This is commonly referred to on the exam as objection handling. So how are you going to handle those objections effectively and efficiently? One of these objections might be a price objection, or it might be a product offering objection. How can you frame that the best way possible to get your customer to say yes? And this is kind of the frame that you'll want to answer those questions by on the exam. A little hint for you here is that Salesforce wants you to answer questions in a certain way. So I like to say this on a bunch of different exams, but you may have more than one correct answer on the exam, but Salesforce wants the most simple and the most correct answer. Let's take an admin example here. So if you have a question that's asking for a security permission set breakdown. So let's say you have the option of creating 5 permission sets, 5 profiles, and maybe you're doing some manual sharing here and there. Or you can set it up with just 2 profiles and 2 permission sets, and then you won't have to do any manual sharing, or you can set up sharing rules. One of those answers, while both of those answers might be correct based upon the scenario, the one that has the 5 permission sets and the 5 profiles would not be the correct answer according to Salesforce. So you're going to want to go to the one that is the most simple in Salesforce's brain. I also like to think to myself on the exam that I need to answer this question like I am Salesforce. And so while I might not do these personally based on my experience, Salesforce wants you to answer them a certain way coming from what you've studied based upon their material. So keep that in mind, just a little nugget of information that I've noticed on exams. So number 4 spot here is going to be pipeline versus forecast differences. So really what this comes down to a lot is different time periods. So pipeline is all of the current deals where they are at this moment in time. And then the forecast is going to just be a general estimate of what we can gather based upon these different stages. So in the pipeline, you might have 10 different opportunities in a handful of different stages, but you're not taking into account the close dates on these. So within a forecast, that's what you would be taking into account, is you would be saying, hey, this opportunity is going to be closing as of right now, and what the system says it's going to be closing at the end of 2024, Q4 2024, Q1 2025. That's what that forecast is going to be outlining. So pipeline is just where is everything at, and then forecast is building upon the pipeline and putting it into a timeline of which quarter, which year, whatever standard of time you use in your company, how is that going to look as far as potential revenue coming into that company. Hopefully that explanation made sense. And then the 5th one is going to be social selling and gaining trust. Gaining trust with a customer is super important, so then they know that you're not trying to rip them off, you're not just trying to make a quick buck. So coming at the exam with a mind of you want to gain trust with the customer and make sure that you're on a good rapport with them when you're answering that question. While it might not be the most intuitive of a question and answer, you'll be gaining trust with the customer, and that is one of Salesforce's core principles, is gaining trust with customers. But with that is going to be the 5 topics that I recommend that you focus your studying on when it comes to the Salesforce Sales Representative certification. Again, I felt like this certification was fairly easy to pick up once I understood, 1, where Salesforce was coming from and how they wanted me to answer the questions, and 2, once I understood the vocabulary. This felt very easy. I think I scored in the 90s when I took this exam, so it was a fairly easy, comfortable pickup for certifications as far as those go. But I hope that you found this video helpful. If you did, be sure to give it a like, subscribe. You can check out the courses down below. I do have a sales rep course. It is available on salesforceupskill.com. You can connect with me on LinkedIn and Twitter at EmilyAlcala-MBA. And hey, big news, but I'm a LinkedIn instructor now. So you should be seeing my courses over on LinkedIn too here pretty soon. Hopefully within the next couple months of this video going live. But again, thank you so much. I'll catch you guys in the next one.